Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today we're meeting one of my clients in the Shard, a lovely place, and we're doing a YouTube strategy session with him. So his name's Christian, he's the CEO of some big ass company, and yeah, we're just gonna be breaking down his channel, building his personal brand out, and really just take it as it comes. I don't prepare for these YouTube strategy sessions because I just wanna do it authentically in the moment. So I'll let you guys know what's actually going on once we actually start the video. So today we're here with Christian. And before I go on, Christian, why don't you introduce yourself to the camera? Just say who you are, what you do.
Sure. So I'm Christian. I'm in business for 12 years. We met the first time in 2025, so actually this year in Monaco. Most of the things that I did in business is growing a software company from 0 to 200 million per year in transactions, but also a lot of branding, investment, portfolio, boring stuff to what we're going to do now, because now it's time to actually create a personal brand. So therefore I'm very happy and excited about today.
Okay, so you mentioned their personal brand. So personal brand's a big thing for you. I'm just going to write that down. We'll talk about that first, maybe. But the next thing I want to know is you want to obviously build a YouTube channel and a personal brand. You're going across all different social medias. But my question is why? Because if you've already made all this money, you've already been very successful, what is it right now that's making you go, cool, okay, let's build a personal brand and go on that journey?
It's smarter to do it than not to do it. So I think leverage, and it exposes us to more opportunities. And also I think it's a great way to get eyeballs on what we are doing, even though that there's no intention right now to monetize it.
So you mentioned a couple of things there. Firstly, you want to do it to get eyeballs, let people know who you are as a CEO. And then secondly, you're not trying to monetize yet. That's very important because that kind of informs the content strategy that we'll talk about after the personal brand. I think it's interesting as well, because when you look at, Elon Musk, for example, he's got 222 million followers. That's more followers than Tesla, SpaceX, all his old companies like PayPal put together. And I think it's an interesting thought because the same with Tim Cook. Tim Cook's got more followers than Apple. So people, especially in the CEO case, people look at the CEOs and they look at the CEO's personal brand often more so now than the company itself, because people trust people. So if you have a personal brand as a CEO, it's one of the most valuable things you can create. Cool. So what I'll do then today, we'll start off with personal branding. I'm going to basically explain exactly my framework to building a personal brand on YouTube and everything there. And then secondly, we can then start to integrate that into an actual content strategy for the channel that you want to make. That make sense? Cool. So first question, and this is to everyone here. What is a personal brand? If you just define it, Nico, how do you define a personal brand?
For me, it's just the way that people perceive me online and offline, and then the relations that they make in their mind to that person.
Yep, that's really good. The way in which I describe it is very similar, which is a personal brand is simply how people describe you or what they say about you when you're not in the room. So for me, that's all a personal brand is. How people describe you or what they say about you when you're not in the room. And I think knowing that's really important because every single person in the world has a personal brand. The question is it done by design or is it done by default? And most people, it's just done by default. They just exist and their personal brand is made. But if I said to you, who's the guy who's like young, wears nice watches, wears a suit, and he talks about making money online, you'd probably go, oh, Iman Gatsi. If I said to you, oh, but who's the dude who has a nose strip, flannel t-shirt, and talks about marketing? Alex Hormozy. If I said to you, oh, but who's the bald guy who yells in front of his Bugatti? You'd probably be like Andrew Tate, right? So all of those people, what they've done is they've engineered a personal brand, and obviously the most extreme examples, but we'll just start with that to make everything a lot more clear. So what I'll do is I'll explain my 3-step process to building a personal brand for YouTube. But first I want to share probably the biggest mistake that people make when it comes to building a personal brand, especially on YouTube or any social media platform. And the problem that people do is they see something that someone else is doing, and then they look at that thing and they copy it and they think copying that thing is a strategy. Because in any other world, it's a really good strategy, right? If you're trying to learn how to make money online, you just copy a system that someone else is doing, you put it into your business, and you will start to make money because that's just how it works. It's a science, right? But a personal brand, by its very default, is personal, and it's an art form. And if you copy someone else, in the best case scenario, you just become a diluted version of someone that you admire, which is like the worst thing to do. So when it comes to building personal brands, the last thing you want to do ever is be like, oh, Alex Hormozy's doing this thing, I will put a nose strip on as well because it's clearly working for him. Like, never ever do that because it just sabotages your personal brand. So a personal brand has to be unique to you and it's got to be personal to you. And the framework that I tell people to follow is the MAP framework. M-A-P. M stands for message. A stands for appearance. And P stands for perspective. Or past. So basically, what you need to do is if you can do these three things on your YouTube channel, also across all of your social media, but specifically for YouTube, you will build a really solid personal brand that's authentic and genuine to yourself. So message is basically you need to become the something guy. You need to basically take 3 or 4 words and carve them out for yourself so that when people think of Christian, they think, oh, Christian is the F1 guy. He's the something guy. Because the reality is, if you're trying to build something like Modern Founder and you're trying to, let's say, teach and educate founders how to do something, there's so many people who have made a lot of money and they teach founders how to do different things. And if you try and leverage the fact that you've made all this money as your differentiator, it's not enough today to be like, oh, but I've made this software and it makes all this money. So your message, what you need to do is you just need to have 3 or 4 words that when people think of those words, they think of Christian. So an example would be something like the productivity guy. You'd probably think, oh, Ali Abdaal. If I said, the online marketing guy, you'd probably start thinking of like Alex Hormozy or someone along those lines, right? So when we start thinking of Christian, we need to come up with 3 or 4 words that when people think of those words, they instantly just think of you. That's what you firstly need to sort of target. The second thing, and this is super important as well, is appearance. And appearance is both verbal and visual. So you've got a verbal appearance, especially on YouTube, and a visual appearance on YouTube as well. So your verbal appearance is kind of like a phrase or something you say that people associate with Christian. So if I said to you, oh, who's the guy who's like, what's your dream? What's your dream? You could think Simon Squibb, right? That's his verbal appearance. So you need to have something in your videos that verbally people associate with you. Ali Abdaal, he always starts his videos by saying, hey friends, it's Ali, welcome back to the channel. On my magic channel, I always say the word, here's the secret. If I don't say those words, here's the secret in the video, people will comment, be like, where's the secret? Like, why haven't you said it? Because it's like, they just associate that with me on my magic channel. So you need a verbal appearance and you need to be conscious over this stuff because remember, we're trying to engineer a personal brand, not just let it happen. And then the visual appearance is, it can either be what you wear or just something you do. So I'll just keep using the same examples so you have clarity. But someone like Ali Abdaal, most of his videos, he's having a little coffee mug. So he's got this he's your best mate, older brother vibe, and he's pouring a coffee and that's his visual appearance. Someone like, Iman Gadzhi, again, watches, smart, Hormozy, it's the nose strip. You just want something about you that when people think about you, they go, oh, that's Christian.
Will with the coffee cup.
Will with a coffee cup, gold Rolex. I'll tell you a funny story about that. I was with a guy called Tintin Smith, who's Ali Abdaal's old head of production, YouTube strategist. And I said to him, I was like, do you know Will Brown? He was like, I don't think so. And then he's like, oh, wait, is that the guy who has a white shirt, gold Rolex, holds a coffee cup and says, hey, guys, it's Will? So he didn't remember Will's name, but he remembered the verbal and visual appearance. Hey, guys, it's Will, verbal, and the visual, the white stuff and everything, right? So for me, for my YouTube strategy, I always wear red, just my thing. And then for my magic channel, I'm always wearing a white shirt. If I wear a black shirt, people go crazy in the comments. It's quite funny. So it's always, you want something, it could be like a little F1 shirt. Anything you want, really. It's just something in your videos that's a constant that people really like. And then the final thing is either your perspective or your past. So again, I'll use the same examples, but if you look at someone like Ali Abdaal, you're always like, oh, he's the guy who was a doctor turned productivity guy. If you look at someone like Simon Squibb, oh, he's the homeless guy who now gives out money. So when people think of Christian is the guy who maybe didn't speak any English and then started working with F1 or landed Red Bull. And you need to become conscious of these 3 things. And once you know what those 3 things are and you're super conscious over them, what you can then do is bake that into your YouTube content strategy. And then that's how you actually engineer a personal brand by design, not by default. Does that make sense?
100%.
Cool. So any questions you guys have about any of this stuff so far?
The appearance, do they engineer that from the bird again, every single one?
It's a good question. So I'll be honest, all of these 3 things, most people don't start off with that. It's very rare because most people, they kind of start off picking up a camera, vlogging, walking around, and it sort of grows over time. But again, if you want to kind of speed run YouTube, you want to speed run this kind of stuff. Alex Hormozy was making gym videos for 8 years before he actually became the Hormozi you know. Imran Gatsi was doing all his, vlogs and stuff before he became the guy. But at some point they have become conscious over it. So my thing is, why wait? It doesn't have to be extremes. You don't have to now every video be say something crazy, sip a coffee, light a candle. It doesn't have to be anything over the top. It's just you really need to think will people differentiate me over the hundreds of other people all talking about the same kind of stuff just through my message, my appearance, and my past? And if you can do that, if you can separate yourself, that's what actually builds a channel that people recognize and remember over just another guy helping founders online who's made some money, right? Does that make sense? Hey, very quickly, if you want me or my team to do all of this personal brand work for you, and on top of that, come up with your video ideas, your titles, your thumbnails, and just do all the heavy lifting for your channel so you can just sit down, press record, and know that you're making a banger video, then click the first link in the description, because that's literally what we offer. So click the first link in the description, hop on a call with someone from my team, and we can take it from there. Right, let's actually talk a little bit more specifically about YouTube itself. Because the kind of channel you want to build is, what you want to do is, whatever channel you ever build, you want to build an audience of buyers and not just viewers. Even if they're not buying from you right now, you want to attract people to your channel who could potentially become customers in the future, because that's essentially how you leverage a personal brand. And basically the 3 steps to any channel is 1 is attract, 2 is educate, and 3 is convert. So if you can attract the right people to your YouTube channel, if you can educate them and actually solve real problems for these people, and if you can convert them from viewers into buyers, that is how you build a really, really profitable YouTube channel and a really strong personal brand. And if you get any of these 3 things wrong, then there's no point, right? You could do all these 2 things right and you get an audience of just people who watch your content. There's almost no point doing it. So attract is the bit where everyone gets wrong, though. This is the first stage to any YouTube channel. What most people focus on when they think about YouTube is they always think about how do I make a thumbnail? How do I do a title? How do I do a script? How do I do all this kind of stuff? And they think about how to do a YouTube video. But the most important part, and anyone doing YouTube, this is what you need to spend most of your time with to begin with doing, is the who, not the how. So who are you actually making videos for? Because you could do these 2 things right. You could make an amazing YouTube video that gets 1 million views. But if all those views come from children, they're never going to work with you in the future. They're never actually going to join Modern Founder because they're just the wrong audience. So before you worry about the how, which is these 2 parts, you need to know exactly who you're making videos for. The single most important thing, that's what everyone gets wrong. So how do you actually do it? Well, there's kind of 2 parts to attract. There's figuring out your ICP, and then the second thing is packaging. And packaging is just your title and thumbnail. These 2 parts make up the attract section. The 2 parts of the ICP that you need to think about is their demographics. So this is their age, gender, and income. And then also their pain points and goals. So if you're trying to attract modern founders, you've really got to know exactly, firstly, how old these people are, how much money they're making, where they're located, and then also what their pain points are. It's what is it they're actually genuinely really struggling with? Because knowing all of this stuff literally informs the content that you actually start putting out on YouTube and all other social media platforms as well. So that's why it's just so important get super crystal clear on who these people are. So the best example is my magic channel. My ICP, I've done it for so long, I know exactly who I'm targeting. It's beginner magicians who want to become the life of the party. They're, let's say, not very confident. They want to become more confident. They want to develop social skills and all that kind of stuff. If I make a YouTube video and I just title it Amazing Card Trick, well, that might attract pro magicians. It also might attract beginners. It might just attract someone who's seen a film called Now You See Me and they just want to learn magic. But if I make a video that is literally amazing card flourish tutorial for beginners, or the card spring tutorial for beginners, something along those lines that's really specific for my ICP, the video will get less views because I'm alienating a massive segment of my audience, beginner to medium to advanced magicians. But for the people who actually are beginner magicians who are going to buy my products, which are all for beginner magicians, they feel like that video is made for them. So they click on the video, not the pros. And then the way the YouTube algorithm works is all it does is it sees who watches your video, and then it just shows it to more of the same people. It's just copy and paste, copy and paste. So if only beginner magicians are watching my content, and because they feel like it's made for them, they watch for longer, they engage with the video, they like, they comment, they share, they save it. The YouTube algorithm goes, oh, this segment of people here like this, we'll show it to more of them. And then that's how on YouTube you build the right audience, not just a massive audience. Does that make sense? You need to know exactly who you're targeting. I promise you it's the $10,000 an hour work. If you know who you're targeting, everything else, and you're so detailed on it, everything else on your YouTube journey becomes easy because it informs your scripts, it informs your language, it informs your thumbnails, it informs your titles. Everything comes from this part here. So once you've done that, then you come to packaging. And I would say this is kind of like a 1 or 2 time thing. You don't need to spend every time you make a video, like revisit your ICP. You don't need to do that. So once you've sort of mastered this and you really just dial it in, the packaging, which is ideation, title, and thumbnail, 50% of your entire YouTube creation process should be spent here. So this is the second thing that is more important than everything else. Because you can make the best video in the world, but if the idea is terrible, no one's going to click on it. Or if the thumbnail and title don't represent the idea in a good way, no one's going to click on it. So you could have great editing, great scripting, whatever, but it all comes down to the packaging. So packaging is idea, title, and thumbnail. When it comes to ideation, have you guys heard of 1 of 10?
Yeah.
You have? Cool. So basically, when you want to come up with YouTube video ideas, there's a software called 1of10.com. This is what I use, this is what like Alex Hormozy swears by it. All the big guys use this software. And basically what it does is it looks for outliers. An outlier is basically a video on someone else's channel that's performed better than that channel's average. So let's just say you've got a YouTube channel that teaches baking cakes and averages 1,000 views per video, and they get another video and it gets 10,000 views. Well, that video with 10,000 views is a 10x outlier. So it's done 10 times better than that channel's average. And when you want to come up with YouTube video ideas, there's kind of 2 methods. There's one which is called sparking. And sparking is when, Christian and Nico are just having a chat. Oh, we could make a video on this. And then you go and make that video. So you're just kind of sparking up with ideas. That's cool, but there's no data to prove that that idea actually works, right? It's just a shot in the dark. It might work, it might not. The other one is spotting. And spotting is the outlier thing that I just mentioned. And this is when you find other channels that have outlier videos that are really good. And because that video has done exceptionally well on that channel, it means by its very nature, that video has a good idea. Does that make sense? So if you basically start off your content creation process by looking at the best videos on YouTube, all the different outliers, by its very nature, the idea that you're looking at is already proven to work.
What percentage of your time do you split between becoming the person who creates the outlier versus chasing the outlier?
I spend most of my time chasing outliers. Because, so you can spend a lot of time coming up with your own ideas, that's totally fine. But it's just, you've got to spend a lot of time, energy, money often on creating YouTube videos. And you're better off using data and what's working on someone else's than just coming up with the idea yourself. I'll explain how to do it though in a second. But just to sort of explain it, there's a reason Iman Gatsi, all of his videos based on outliers pretty much. Alex Hormozy, he's got a team of people and one person in his team, all they do is they get a spreadsheet and they get all the different outliers and they present it to Hormozy, like whenever he does his videos. That's how powerful this is.
But the outliers that they're going for, you're not looking at like Hormozy's channel and saying, I could do that idea.
So I'll basically break down how to find outliers. But I just want to explain the concept firstly. So most obvious example is like someone like Mr. Beast. So Mr. Beast spends, let's say, 10 million per video, 5 million per video. He could guess if this video is going to be good, or he could just take a proven concept that's already proven to get loads of views and do it. So, he all his videos, which is like $1 experience versus $1 million experience, right? That's a format that BuzzFeed used years ago. They've been doing that for years and years, and it was their most popular thing. He just puts it into YouTube videos. He made a video last year called Train versus Giant Pit. Well, 6 years ago, there's also a video called Train versus Giant Pit, and that video has 60 million views. So Mr. Beast knows that if he creates the same video, makes it unique to him, doesn't just copy, but like takes their idea as a starting point, it's already proven to work. Does that make sense? So when you guys are coming up with ideas, obviously, look, if you think you've got a good idea and it's going to work, obviously run with your own ideas as well. I'm not just saying you copy other people, but the outlier method is if you just want to sort of have data backing up whether or not you've got a good idea, which is literally, again, going to inform all this other stuff, the outlier method is by far the best.
One question about the tool, the 1 of 10. Is it just looking for outliers, or is it already coming up with a tailor-made version for what you want to do?
Both. So I'll explain how that works now. It's kind of hard, obviously, without a laptop, but I'll just kind of walk you through it. Essentially, what 1 of 10 does is a software that just is the YouTube homepage, but it only shows you outliers. So you only get the best videos, right? So instead of like manually going through YouTube and going, oh, let's look at this channel, let's find their best videos in the last year, which takes ages, 1 of 10 does all the filtering for you. And it just finds that software, it just finds that video for you. So what I do, the settings, you can probably write this down, but the settings that I use is you want to look for videos within the last year, because you don't want videos that are like 10 years old, because they might have just, over time, videos get more views. So videos within the last year, you want there to be a minimum 2x outlier, which means that video is performed 2 times better than that channel's average. So minimum 2x outlier. What you want is the maximum subscriber count to be 500,000 subscribers or less. So this gets rid of the Mr. Beasts, this gets rid of the Alex Hormozis, and the big channels who just get views because it's Ali Abdaal or Alex Hormozi. So that gets rid of the big boys.
But you'd actually go smaller though, right?
Yeah, so I always start as small. I start like 50k subs, and I just move the filter up and up and up and up, and that's kind of how I do it. And then minimum view count, you want around 20,000 views. So these are all different sliders, and because if you can get an outlier, but if their channel average is 10 views and it gets 100 views, it's still a 10x, but it's only got 100 views. Cool. So that's basically the outlier method. That's how you come up with video ideas. And the final thing I want to say here, and this is like probably the most valuable part, is you don't want to look for outliers necessarily in your own niche. So when you're coming up with video ideas, don't just look up like what other people who are like teaching founders do. What you want to do is you want to find videos in adjacent niches that are kind of similar to yours, and then you're going to take those ideas and just put your own spin on it with regards to who your ICP is. Because if you let's just use the magic niche for example. If I found a video in the magic niche and I sort of found the outlier and do all that stuff, innately I'm going to be second best because someone's already made this video and it's been a really good video for them. But if I find a video in just a similar niche, maybe it's juggling for example, as weird as that is. Let's say there's a massive outlier in the juggling niche, and I just then take the concept and I apply it to magic. I'm the first guy in the magic niche to do this. Yeah, so what you do is you look at the idea, you extract the viral elements. So, okay, what was it about this title and thumbnail and idea that you think made it go viral? And then you just apply it to your own niche. And the best thing you can do when it comes to the title is what I call framework extraction, where you basically break the title down into a framework and then just replace the different parts of the title with your ICP. So let me just give you an example. Let's just say a video blew up and it was like, 10 years of trading advice in 52 minutes. The framework there is X years of Y advice in Z timeframe. So you might go, if you're then in, let's say, the coding niche, you might do 6 years of coding advice in 15 minutes. So can you see how you've taken the viral idea, you just extracted the framework and then put in your own niche there. So again, you'd have to, once you know who your ICP is, you then basically do all that and you just make it really clickable for them. That's really as simple as it is. So if your ICP is a coder, that's what you do. So in your case, you need to get super clear. You're trying to attract hustlers, people making less than 50K or around that level. And you go, okay, cool. What would they click on? How would they like to be described? And that's your title. Does that make sense? Cool. So that's really attracting the right people. That's actually where all the heavy work goes. And that's kind of like 50% of the video. If you get all of that right, you're basically going to attract the right people to your channel and you've got a clickable thumbnail. Roughly for your CTR, which is your click-through rate, you want to aim for around 5.5% or more. Any less, and it just normally means the idea, title, or thumbnail isn't good enough. The only caveat there is when you're just starting out, don't worry too much about the data because you're just starting out and it's YouTube showing it to a random audience. But once you've got around, let's say, 20 to 30 videos, you've got a following starting to build up, aim for around 5.5%. If you don't get that, you probably want to switch out the title or thumbnail and just test something else. So I hope you can now see how important ideas are for your YouTube channel. And if you want me and my team just to do all of that work for you, so we come up with your ideas, your titles, and your thumbnails, so you can just sit down and press record and know that you've got a banger video, click the first link in the description and hop on a call with someone from my team, because that's literally what we offer. So we do all the hard work for you so you can just make amazing content that reaches the right kind of people. Cool. Now, when it comes to educating your audience, the only thing you've got to do here is solve real problems for real people. People often go like, oh, should I script? Should I do this? It doesn't matter. So long as at the end of the video, someone has actually, your ICP has had their problem solved. And the best way to do this is the HIVE formula, which is hook, intro, value, end screen. So that's how you script out your videos. And by script, I'm not saying word for word scripting. I'm just saying that's the structure that you want to follow. So HIVE, hook, intro, value, end screen. So we can keep this really simple. I think people often overcomplicate all this stuff. For the hook, all you need to do is repeat the title. So people spend like bloody hours trying to, what's the best? Do I put a question hook or a statement hook, or how do I capture people's attention? Realistically, if someone's clicked on a video, your title and thumbnail set an expectation. And all you've got to do instantly is match the expectation set by your title and thumbnail. And the easiest way to do that is you literally just repeat the title. So let's just say it was a video explaining, how modern founders could make their first 50K online. Random idea, I know, but let's just say that was what the concept was. You'd be like, hey guys, in this video, I explain how to make your first 50K online. Like, that's literally it, right? You literally just repeat the title because then you confirm the expectations set by the title and thumbnail. So people don't feel clickbaited. That's the first thing. Then the intro, what you now need to do is exceed those expectations. So you tell people what they're going to get, and then you exceed those things, and that means people actually stay around for the whole video. And the way in which you do that in the intro is you basically have to give your credibility. And your credibility is basically, why are you the best person to talk about this topic over all the other thousands of YouTube channels out there probably talking about something similar? Because every niche is very saturated now. Now, what you don't want to do is spend 5 minutes banging on that, you know, oh, I made this software, it makes this money, and I've done this, and I've worked with this person, and people don't care. The hook should literally be 10 seconds maximum. The introduction should be another 20 seconds maximum. So basically, within the first 30 seconds, you've hooked people in, and you've given your introduction. So, hey guys, it's Christian. In this video, I'm going to be talking about this thing, matching the introduction. And by the way, my main software company does $200 million of transactions every year, or whatever it is, and I work with Mercedes and F1. And then that's kind of like the reason people are going to listen to you over all of these other people. And then basically you want to get straight into the value, right? Because that's really why people are there. But you just got to give people a reason to stick around. So the value is basically when you just give, I normally say 3 to 5 points is kind of the best way to break up any YouTube video. So 3 to 5 points. Most of the time, I think for you guys in here, because you're all experts, I wouldn't script things out word for word. Just because if you know your niche really well and you can just talk about it, scripting often becomes across as quite robotic. Christian, you definitely shouldn't script because you're great at just talking about things off the top of your head. But you do have to play the YouTube game and still stick to a formula. So the idea for you would be hook, intro. You can script this part because it's just kind of a sentence. If you want to script it, that's totally cool. But then the actual value, you want to kind of free ride it, but you want to stick to like, okay, beforehand, you want to know some different bullet points and what you're actually going to talk about. That's really the thing. And the whole time you're making this video, the one guiding metric is, am I actually solving a problem for my ICP? Because if you're not, there's no point making this video. But if you are, then that's great. And then finally, end screen is at the very end of the video, what you want to do is direct people to another one of your videos on YouTube. The reason for this is what YouTube values is session time. So the longer people stay on YouTube, the more YouTube likes it because they're a company, they make more money, they're a business, right? So if you can keep people on YouTube for longer, the algorithm goes, oh, this is a great channel, it's keeping people on YouTube, we'll promote this channel more. So how do you actually do that? The best technique is what you do is you set up another problem at the end of your video and then say that another one of your videos is going to solve this problem. So if we just go for like the A Players Club, for example, let's just say you're making a video on, give me like a random video you might make something on.
One that we did recently was top 3 places to live as an entrepreneur in your 20s to succeed.
Okay, so you make that video, awesome. And then at the end of the video, you go, everything I've just told you in this video will be completely useless if you don't have the right mindset to move to these places in the first place. Therefore, watch this video here where I talk about mindset and travel as an entrepreneur. So you've set up a new problem and then you say this new video is going to solve that problem. And that's the best way to increase your session time. And you almost see the YouTube channel as like a chain and a journey that people go on. Does that make sense? Cool. So that's kind of the HIVE formula. And that's really, if you're doing all this stuff here, right, you've got the right people coming to your channel already. You're just connecting with them. And that's kind of how you do it. The final thing is then convert. So I work with a lot of people and it's really funny because they'll have, 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 views per video and they get no leads, like literally zero. And the reason is they're building an audience of viewers and not an audience of buyers. Even if you're not selling anything, build out your email list because YouTube is a rented audience. Instagram is a rented audience. Mark Zuckerberg or whoever's in charge, whoever the CEO of YouTube is, could delete your thing tomorrow and there's nothing you could do. But an email list is the only audience that you actually own. So the most profitable part of any YouTube channel is actually your email list. So for me, just to give you a very quick example, 80% of my sales from my Magic channel come from my email list and not from my YouTube channel. So I always say YouTube builds your audience and email builds your business. And genuinely, it's like if you start doing this even early days on YouTube, it's the difference between if you're doing YouTube for if you've got a high ticket offer on the back end, this is the difference between your channel making tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars, versus no money. So if I were to summarize YouTube, just to anyone here, it's just all YouTube does is builds trust at scale. That's all it is, builds trust at scale. So here's a good little stat for you guys. Have you heard of the 7-hour rule? Yeah. Cool. So Nico's been watching my YouTube videos. Yeah. It takes 7 hours. If you want someone to buy from you, Google did a study and it says it takes 7 hours of someone watching your content to be in a position where they want to buy from you high ticket. 7 hours. So what you've got to do is you've got to get people to consume 7 hours of your content. If you do Twitter, assuming people spend 7 seconds reading a tweet, that's 3,200 tweets. If you do LinkedIn, 30 seconds per LinkedIn post, it's around 840 LinkedIn posts. Instagram, assuming it's 60 seconds per Instagram reel, it's 420 Instagram reels. But on YouTube, if you do 20 minutes per video, it's around 20 or so videos. And if you do all this end screen, the call to action stuff, and you send people these different videos, man, someone can be in a position to discover you and want to buy from you within a couple of days. So YouTube's the best place to build trust at scale, and it's the best way to do it. So when it comes to doing your call to actions, this is how you do it. Definitely take notes of this stuff. So the first thing is you want 2 call to actions in every single one of your videos minimum. 2 call to actions. The reason for that is there's a Stanford study that basically says when someone hears something twice, they're 4 times more likely to actually do that thing. So every single video, you want 2 call to actions. The second thing is, okay, that's cool, but where do you put the call to actions in your videos? The big mistake that people make is they put them near the end because they want to, deliver the value and do all this stuff. And then at the end, oh, by the way, if you found this useful, check out this other thing that I've got here. The problem is a retention graph looks like this. So let's just say roughly it's like that, right? And at the beginning, you probably get normally it's like a bigger drop off. Normally it's like that. Let's just say you get 70% around here. If you've got a good intro, that's pretty normal. And by the end, normally it's, 20 to, let's just say 20%, but normally it's like 20 to 30%. That's just any YouTube video. If you put your call to action here, let's just say the video gets 10K views. Well, the problem is actually only 2,000 people saw the call to action. So it's actually not that many. You didn't get 10,000 people seeing your stuff. That's why the best place to put your call to action is after your first main big point of value. So you go back to the HIVE formula, you hook people in, you introduce the video, give your credibility, then you give your first big point of value because you don't want to sell right away or move people right away. And then after that, that's when you give your main big point of value. And it's about, let's say, normally it's about 1/3 of the way through the video, maybe, 2 minutes in or so. That's no hard and fast rules here. But, maybe let's say 60% of people are still here. And that's 6,000 views versus 2,000 views. So actually for the same content, that's a huge, huge difference. So it's just so important that you put your call to actions earlier on in the videos, especially when you're starting out on YouTube, because it's just like, if you do this stuff right now, it just speeds up the time in which it takes you build your email list, you get people to your funnel, all of that stuff. So that's the first thing. Then the second call to action, don't put right at the very end, because you are going to have your end screen, but sort of just, nearish the end. It's just kind of like a reminder. And that's where you put your second call to action. Where you place your call to action in the description is the easiest thing and the biggest thing to change on your YouTube channel that will actually make a huge difference. So to give you some perspective, on my Magic channel, because everything it averages around 250,000 views every 48 hours, so I can test different things at scale. If I have my call to actions at the bottom of my description, 70% less people click on them. Is literally that night and day. What you need is your call to action as the very first thing at the top of the description, and it needs to sit there. And the reason for this is the more friction you create between watching a YouTube video and then actually clicking on that link, the less likely someone is to actually go and do the thing. And if you get a video that pops off and you put the call to action near the bottom or buried in the description or something along those lines, you're literally going to half the number of people who actually click on that link. So it really is that important to get this thing right. So where do you actually do it? Basically, video, and then you have your call to action at the very top of the description. And I would maximum have 2 call to actions. The other big problem people do is they say, oh, go and follow my TikTok, go and follow my Instagram, go and follow my LinkedIn. Here's a link to my website. If you give people 10 different things to do, either they do nothing because they get decision fatigue, or the other thing they do is they click on the wrong link. So they go and follow your TikTok, when in reality, going to your lead magnet or going to watch your VSL is what's actually going to make you the money. So choose the highest value thing in your business and just send them to that thing. So most of the time for me, I have 2 call to actions. At the very top, I just have the lead magnet that I normally have in my YouTube video. And then the one underneath that is just a link to go and work with me. The reason for that is there's some people who watch your content and they're just like, damn, I need to sign up to Modern Founder right now. So you don't want to send them through the whole funnel and nurture, just send them to the thing. But most of the time, people aren't that warm yet. So the structure that I like to follow is 2 call to actions at the very, very top. the first part of the call to action, again, this sounds small, but it's just still important for like conversion rates and whatnot, is have an emoji. So like green tick, fire icon or something. Then very simple call to action, which is like not just watch my VSL or anything like that, but something that actually makes them want to click. So for me, I normally just go like learn magic in 90 days. So it promises the results that people actually want. Because whenever someone buys from you, people don't buy information, they buy transformation, right? So in the call to action, have the transformation that these people actually want, or watch my free masterclass here, so free masterclass, just something that's short and sweet, but also makes them actually take the next step. So it's emoji, short and sweet call to action, then a link to the actual thing. Have those two things right at the very top of the description, and then have your like description of the video underneath that. Because the other thing as well is when you have them at the very top, they're above the fold. And often what you'll notice on YouTube videos is there's the see more button. If someone's got to click see more to then go and find the call to action, 90% of the time they just won't do it. So have it above the fold, those two links there, then have your description, then your timestamps, whatever you want, and then I'd remove all other links, like remove affiliate links, remove links to your TikTok or whatever it is. Just think about where you actually want to send these people. If it is Instagram, then cool, send them to Instagram. That's totally fine. But just send people to one place. And the analogy I like to use often when it comes to doing YouTube is just imagine that YouTube, if any of you here have like run Facebook ads, just imagine YouTube's the same thing. Imagine having a Facebook ad and they're having 10 different call to actions in it. You screw up the Facebook ad, right? And also think back to your ICP. Imagine running Facebook ads and just being like, yeah, we'll target men in the USA. You'd be like, no, we want to target, people in this state who earn this amount of money, who is this gender, who like these different things. That's literally why Facebook ads are so effective. YouTube's exactly the same thing. Just it's free content. And people don't think of it this way. So think of YouTube like an ads platform. Think of it like you're trying to target your ICP. You want one call to action like you would on a Facebook ad. And that's just the best way to do it. So that's the kind of mindset. So that's basically with your call to action. And then the final thing, it's a little bit beyond YouTube, but whatever you promise in your video, you want your messaging consistent the whole way through. So one of the biggest problems people have is they get people off YouTube, but then their conversion rate on the next page is really bad. And that's because on YouTube, you might have promised something like, I use my magic example. If I say something like learn magic in 90 days, if the headline of my landing page isn't learn magic in 90 days, but it's just something else, people just click off. So you want consistent messaging the whole way through. And weirdly, this kind of comes back to your personal brand, where you want the same color, you want the same vibe, you want the same feeling, you want the same message running through all of your content to your landing page, even if it's your lead magnet, right? So you just want this whole cohesive brand when it comes to basically doing all of that stuff. The one thing I'll say is taking a step back and looking at YouTube, after having done it for like 10 years and worked with over 100 people with it all, the one thing that separates people who succeed on YouTube and people who fail on YouTube is mindset. Christian will love this because you're all about mindset and all this kind of stuff. So I know I'm preaching to the converted here, but I think with YouTube, it's just putting that to the absolute extreme. Because the reality is with most people who do YouTube, you're going to make 30 to 40 videos before something really takes off. It's just the reality in most of the time because it's a long process. And the secret formula to doing YouTube, if I could like synthesize it down as one thing to how to be successful on YouTube, all you need to do is make one video per week and improve one thing at a time on each video. That's all you need to do. So you make one video per week, 52 weeks, and you improve one thing at a time. If you can make one video per week, 52 weeks, and improve one thing at a time, like you will be successful on YouTube. I can't obviously put like a subscriber count to it. I can't put amount of money I've made to it. I can't put how many views you'll get. Can't guarantee any of that stuff. But I've never seen someone make one video per week for their ICP, improve one thing at a time, could be your title, your thumbnail, your packaging, whatever it is, and not have YouTube change their personal brand or their business in some way. It's like literally impossible because you're putting yourself out there so much.
Do you think the YouTube Shorts hurt the type of audience you attract?
Really good question. So with YouTube Shorts, they're making it a lot easier now to have YouTube Shorts that attract an audience and then cross-pollinate to your long-form content, right? So this is my sort of theory with YouTube Shorts. All YouTube Shorts are is, I like to look at it like this. So a YouTube Short is like a movie trailer, and a long-form YouTube video is like a film. No one ever buys from you from a trailer. So if you just make loads of YouTube Shorts, you're never going to make any money. Think back to the magical 7-hour rule. Think how many shorts someone's got to watch before they actually want to buy from you. It takes bloody ages. That being said, shorts are really good top-of-funnel content for attracting a new audience. So whenever you create YouTube Shorts, I think it is a really good idea to make them, but I wouldn't start there. So if you're just starting out on YouTube, just focus on mastering long form content first. That's really like stage one. Once you've got a channel that attracts the right kind of people, you're getting good lead flow, and it's kind of working, then I would start really thinking about a short form strategy as well. And the way in which you do shorts is you follow what I call the 3 C's, which is, where did I put on the board? I'll go here. It's content, color, and then caliber. So basically, if your shorts is the same kind of content as your long form videos, then that's a good short. It's the same, you're talking about the same stuff, you're talking about all the A players, whatever you talk about in the A players videos. If it's the same kind of content, then that's a good short. If it's the same kind of color, so the color scheme is still professional, it's, you know, the same kind of vibe, I guess, that's a good short. And then finally, if it's the same kind of caliber of video. So often people think with shorts, oh, you can just like pick up your phone, have a rant at the camera and upload it. And then your long form content is this like, you know, really nicely edited content. That's a bad short. It's got to be the same kind of caliber as well. Because the only goal of your short form content is to send people to your long form content. So every short that you make as well, so you do these 3 things and you've got a good short. Every short that you make, you can then link it to a relevant video. I'm sure you've maybe seen that, right?
No, shall we?
Okay, so basically, yeah, on YouTube, when you make a short, there's a button at the bottom and you can basically link it to a long form video. You've got to do that because the whole point is you can attract all these people from shorts. They click on that button and then they go and watch your long form content. And then that's actually going to get them into your YouTube funnel, as it were, and get them to the 7-hour number, which is where they actually want to buy from you. On my Magic channel, I made a YouTube short. I made multiple shorts, but one of them hit 60 million views and brought in 123,000 subscribers to my Magic channel, which is crazy from a 60-second video. And that video basically wrecked my Magic business for 6 months. And the reason for this was my Magic YouTube channel teaches, as I said earlier, beginner magic tricks to people who want to invest and learn in their magic. That's my ICP. This short was revealing a Britain's Got Talent magic trick. It was pure entertainment. And it was a different kind of content, different color scheme. It was not me, it was a YouTube video from Britain's Got Talent, and different caliber. I wasn't teaching magic. I was just like revealing something viral. 123,000 people came in, basically all children. And then what happened was I started posting my normal long form videos, which is, you know, teaching magic. And either people just don't click on the video, crushing the click-through rate, which signals to the algorithm that it's not a good video, because they want more short-form content, like this entertainment-y stuff. And if people did click on the video, they'd be like, oh, I don't care about actually learning magic. I just want it revealed. So they then just click off. So it crushed my videos. All my videos were like 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 in performance, which is really not very good. And then basically what that meant long-term was for like 6 months, view count dropped, lead flow dropped, and then my business, like, yeah, nearly died. So it was really bad. It took me 6 months of kind of redoing all my videos and really just trying to get out that hole. So that's what I mean, but that's a very extreme example, but that's why with your YouTube shorts, you do have to be very careful. The other thing you can do to sometimes get around this, and a lot of people do this, is they create what are known as satellite channels. So you have your main YouTube channel here, and then you've got a whole bunch of kind of like Christian talks, Christian insights, different little channels like this, which is pure short form. And those videos basically build your personal brand separately from your main channel, but you don't run the risk of like one of those videos blowing up, attracting an audience of children who then flood your main channel. But honestly, you can do that, but YouTube is getting so good now at cross-pollinating it and showing it to the right people. Most of the time, I wouldn't actually recommend it now, as long as you just follow the 3 C's when it comes to doing short-form content. The biggest bit of like mentality advice I can give people when it comes to doing YouTube is to set input goals and not output goals. And what that means is often, especially when you're a business owner, you're so focused on like money, revenue, numbers, and all these different things. But with YouTube, you literally cannot guarantee or control any of that. That's the very nature of it being organic content. So if you say, yeah, by the end of Q1, we want to have 10,000 subscribers, you just can't control that. You could have the best team in the world and it just doesn't hit. And then sometimes you make a really bad video, upload it, and it just explodes for whatever reason. And you know that's the process of learning what your audience wants and what your audience doesn't want. So the best thing you can do is set an input goal. An input goal is like, okay, you film YouTube videos Saturday morning, every single morning. That's just what you do. You make 1 video per week and you stick to that for a year. That's an input goal that you can control. And when you focus on those different things, the output will always happen, so long as you stick to the input consistently enough. So that's probably the final bit of like mentality shift I would give you guys. With YouTube, A Players Club, Christian, if you guys are doing stuff as well, just set input goals, like sit down, block out when you're going to make videos, how often you're going to make videos, and just stick to that. I promise you, if you do that, and and you stick to the golden rule, which is 1 video per week, 52 weeks, and improve one thing at a time, you will be successful on YouTube.
Don't you think that sometimes it's smart to put an objective above that to say, okay, in the next 2 years, we want to achieve X, Y, Z, not related to the numbers of the channel, but I see them by myself that I feel like sometimes I get lost in the process of doing content only for the sake of doing content, that I start to measure my success and growth only related to the realm of me creating content.
Yes.
And I lose the overall picture to my actual business goal in a very small way. But I think if you are into this game so heavily, creating content, like focusing on all this different pros, that you get tempted to lose the overall picture, and that it's maybe useful if you put something as a top line to it that says, okay, in the next 2 years, our main goal is to gain awareness, market share, or we grow the channel to 1 million revenue per year, a month, whatever. Do you think that makes sense, or do you think you should not connect both with you?
I think you should. And we didn't talk too much about mindset today, but what I always get like the people I work with to do, because the first thing with YouTube is mindset. Like, I didn't want to just talk about mindset today, but that's always like the actual first thing. It's mindset, then it's strategy. And the mindset I get people to do with all my clients is I basically say, YouTube's going to be tough, and there's going to be moments where you think this is not worth it. The only way you'll ever get through that is you're conscious on your dream scenario and your what if scenario. So it's kind of what you just said, but plus one more thing. So your dream scenario is, if I do YouTube, these are the goals that I want. $1 million here, the doors that it will open, the people that I'll meet, all of these different things. And you write this down, like you pen, paper, you write this down, and you read that thing every single day. It takes you 30 seconds, and it just reminds you about the bigger vision. The other thing, though, which I think is even more powerful, is your what if scenario. So if you don't do YouTube, if you don't build a personal brand, what opportunities will you not have? What people will you not meet? And Freud talks about this a lot, but people do more to get out of pain than they will do to pursue pleasure. And often it's, it's nice to be motivated. I can meet all these people, but whatever, I'm not really feeling it today. That's your dream scenario. But sometimes it works really well, other times it doesn't. But if you read your what if scenario, which is the painful scenario, which is, if I don't do this YouTube channel, if I don't stick to making 1 video per week, these are the things that won't happen. That will push you so much further ahead than your dream scenario. So I always tell people to do both, read both things every single day. And then from there, again, it'll put you in the right mindset to actually commit to your input goals.
What is your goal in the next 12 months with what you're doing right now?
With
YouTube.
Yeah, the YouTube one, it's really to become the #1 business strategist in the world. So I don't give a damn about views. I couldn't care less if I help someone and they get 1 million views, if those 1 million views are from children. That's not my goal at all. And I think that's what's maybe slightly different between me and other strategists. I help different people. I help entrepreneurs and business owners and CEOs and coaches, as opposed to people who want to become the next Mr. Beast. So it's not that what they're doing is wrong. That's awesome. It's just the people that I work with are people who are way more focused on, they want to build their personal brand, of course, but they're business owners who want to also build their brand. And I think there's a massive gap in the market for that specifically. And I think there's too many people who are so focused on views, and they don't actually realize that views are not always the answer. As I told you, I've got clients I've got a client called, got like 1,200 subscribers, and he's doing about 80 to 100, 120K a month from YouTube. And he's averaging less than like 500 views per video. But he's got a 30K offer, so he needs one of the right viewers for his videos. Now, we've got a very different strategy for him because his stuff is very search-based. It's very, very niche because he's just trying to attract a very small, specific ICP who have got money, kind of linking back to what we talked about earlier with the guy that you watched who targets people who've got 60 million net worth or whatever. But for me, I think there's not many people, when I look at like YouTube strategy on YouTube or Twitter Spaces and stuff, it's always just like views, here's how you do it. And having done that with my magic channel, got 250 million views there, I can just tell you up front, like it's not the needle mover for most people who want to do YouTube for business. So my goal is to help and reach as many business owners as possible and show them actual strategies to grow YouTube channels that will grow their business and their personal brand, as opposed to vanity metrics, which is just subscribers and views. So if you enjoyed this video, then you're going to love this one here, where I explain to one of my clients how he can scale to $750,000 per month on YouTube. So make sure you give it a watch, and I'll see you there.